Hello and welcome to the Mindset RX series of the Alpha Movement podcast. My name is Tom Foxley and I help functional athletes gain the champ's mindset. On today's show, I have a bunch coming up about being coachable, how to become a more coachable athlete, what coachability even is, even if I just made up that word. We're going to be going into that, but before that, a touch of housekeeping. Seminars. I know I keep on banging on about seminars, but frankly, I tested the new one out on, when was it? Saturday. So it's Wednesday today. And it was phenomenal. The new format has massively changed things up. It's a much more practical experience. It's a much more enjoyable experience, I think, for everyone. It's much more informative and much more interactive, which is the main thing. So it's brand new and it worked phenomenally well. So seminars coming up or workshops coming up. I think it's more of a workshop now. So May 19th, it's in Primal Performance in Weert in the Netherlands. In May 26th, it's in CrossFit Lutterworth in the UK. And then we're looking at June/July in Hereford. More details are going to come out about that at CrossFit Bull. And then October the 20th in CrossFit City Line in Watertown, Massachusetts. And then October 27th at CrossFit Push and Weight, which is just outside Richmond, Virginia. If you're interested in attending a seminar, you can head over to mindsetrx.com/seminars or just go to mindsetrx.com, have a nosy about, look at the blog post. There's some gold in there. And if you're interested in hosting, we're still looking for maybe 4 or 5 more seminars this year, maybe even more than that, depending on my availability. But if you're interested in hosting a seminar at your facility, or you know someone who's interested in that, you can email Tamara at mindsetrx.com. So that's TAMARA at mindsetrx.com. And let's get on the show. So, coachability. Coachability is something that I hear a lot of athletes or coaches even being told to kind of, you should be more coachable. And it's a great sentiment, but there's very rarely any structured guidance on how to become a more coachable athlete. We are told that it's a good thing, and I even hear a bunch of coaches being kind of pessimistic about it. Like they say, "Oh, like I'm friends with a lot of coaches on social media, or I follow them and they follow me and that kind of stuff." And I see a lot of people essentially whining. If only my coaches were more coachable. My athletes were more coachable. So this is something that I see, whether it's from the coach's standpoint, and I understand there's a lot of coaches listening to this, and also of the athlete standpoint too, you guys as well. So like I guess I know there's a bunch of athletes listening to this show as well. So the first thing we have to do is understand what coachability is, because very few people have defined it and defined it well. Ben Bergeron talks about it the whole time, but I haven't heard him actually define it. So I found this brilliant quote by Timothy R. Clark. I've honestly no idea who this guy is. I found it on like on a business coaching website, and I think it's really, really good. So the quote is, "The willingness to be corrected and act on that correction. When we are coachable, we are prepared to be wrong. We can withstand a high degree of candor. We are willing to let others evaluate, and perhaps even plumb the depths of our performance, because we understand that the journey of personal development cannot be traveled alone." Honestly, that's beautiful. Like that is a great understanding of coachability. But there's 5 ways that I've put together, and this is not an exhaustive list. There's a bunch more ways to become a coachable athlete, but these are like the 5 that I think that a lot of athletes should begin to follow. The first one, and I know I talk about this the whole time, is to know what you're working towards. And yes, I mean structured and tangible goals. Things like, I'm working towards improving my strength, or I'm working towards hitting a 100 kilo snatch, or I'm working towards deadlifting whatever, or a sub whatever Fran, or anything like that. I'm working towards that, but also on top of that, and that is important. I think I've kind of made I made the mistake of not emphasizing the importance of having structured and tangible goals enough in the past. So we have to have those building blocks. However, you can only attain those building blocks that matter truly to you once you understand who you want to be. Not what you want to achieve, but who you want to be. What the values, the ethics, the principles, the philosophies that mean a lot to you. And that's the first step. The first step is to understand who you want to be. Okay, like removing every kind of what, because the what can always be taken away from you. Removing every kind of what from your kind of your direction. Understanding who you want to be. And then working backwards, because quite frankly, I see a lot of people working in a direction that they don't want to be working in, and this results in being an uncoachable athlete, or maybe a very, very slightly coachable athlete. If you're not there for the reasons that correlate to insane growth, then quite frankly, it's never going to work. The second thing is to understand we're looking for progress, not perfection. And this comes in a nice, neat little phrase, progress over perfection, which I repeat the whole time. And you've got to excuse me, because whilst I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be walking around my kitchen table and trying to carry on talking to you guys whilst plugging my laptop in. So, progress over perfection. Progress is the only thing that we can truly ask for. Whilst perfection is it's an impossible standard, not only because it's so high, but because perfection doesn't really exist. You're never going to have perfect technique. You're always going to be able to dial it in slightly. You're never going to be able to have a perfect score on a workout. You're always going to be able to remove that slightly. And the other thing is, even if you do think, like, so that's like one camp. You're never going to hit it. And the other camp is, if you believe you have hit it, then you're no longer striving to work forwards and you're never going to progress. So a lot of athletes will become uncoachable or poorly coachable or only slightly coachable because they're looking for the perfect outcome. So it leads to frustration. They get annoyed with their coaches. They get annoyed with themselves and they think, I should be better. I should be better. I should be better. And this is a fairly shitty or horrible place to live in. So every time we turn up to the box or the gym or wherever you train, it's, I'm going to aim for progress, not perfection. And if we progress just in one area, that is a good day. It's quite easy to get humbled and it's quite easy to feel like you're having a shitty day if you don't excel. Not every day is going to be a PR day, and that's what makes them so special. The third point in how to become a highly coachable athlete is to listen. And this has two parts. Three parts-ish. Number one is to listen to the coaches and the athletes around you. So obviously listen to the coaches, listen to what they're saying, and listen with an open mind that they may not be structuring everything exactly as you want to hear it. So listen to the content, not the way that they are structuring their phrase. Listen without bias on their own phrases. So listen to the coaches, listen to the athletes around you. It's sometimes a very good clue to hone in on your mindset, like to use it like a tuning fork, to kind of listen to what other people are saying and watching the way they're acting, and then kind of understanding yourself a bit more because of the perspective they have provided. The third or second, depending on how you're looking at this, part of listening is to listen to your own self-talk. Like really listen and become attentive and aware of, okay, this is what's going through my mind. These are the thoughts that I'm having, and are they helping me or are they not helping me? And initially we don't need to judge them. We just need to see them and see them clearly and observe them, and then see their frequency and see their effect, and then we can judge them after that. But listen. The fourth aspect of how to become a highly coachable athlete is to trust. And again, this has two parts. To trust yourself is probably the biggest piece. To trust that you're on the right path. and it comes back to progress over perfection, but to trust that you're doing the right thing, to put your trust in yourself before you, I don't know, hit a heavy lift, or before you attempt a big WOD, or before you kind of go through a testing phase, to put your trust in yourself and know that you're going to give your best. Okay, so that's part one. And the second piece is to trust your coach. And if you haven't done your diligent research, if you are feeling like you don't trust your coach, then it's time to move on. Like, you can't have a good relationship and you can't progress if you don't trust your coach. And there is no way to become the athlete that you have the potential of by coaching yourself, I believe, and because there's no perspective there. So you need that coach there, and the only way to do that is to have a coach who complements, and I don't mean like always positive, I mean who fits in to your standard and fits into your style, and who knows how to get the best from you. So a coach who complements you. Without that, you're never going to move forward. And the last step is to be present. Be present, be aware, and be focused on what you are doing right now. And this doesn't mean like creating so much tension in your mind that you just can't, like, that's all you're focusing on. It means like a relaxed state of presence. So not thinking about like what I've got coming up tomorrow, or what my programming is going to go to, or even like what I'm going to be doing when I get back home, or how am I going to drive back, or what happened at work today, or where's my programming leading, all that kind of stuff. And there's a couple of ways that I recommend you do this. Actually, I'm going to add in a third way. The first one is to create a short phrase, something that I call an inspiration statement, something like very short to implement and drop into your training. So if you find yourself getting distracted, you can drop that phrase in, and it kind of rehones your focus and replaces where you're going and what you're kind of thinking about right then. So it's like the next point, which is the mental reset button. And the mental reset button is, Brent Fikowski describes this perfectly. So if you want to go back to somewhere in the I think it's like episode 14 of series 2, Brent Fikowski talks about his mental reset button, where he imagines actually pressing a button on the side of his head to reset. And I've written about this extensively at mindsetrx.com/blog as well, so you can find that there. And the kind of the third way to do this is, before you walk through the door of your gym, or before you start the session, develop some sort of switching on. So what I mean by this is, when I go through the doors to jiu-jitsu, the first thing I'll do is, about 50 yards before the door, I'll take my headphones off, I'll pause my music, put them in my pocket, and I will just begin to step forwards. And then as I walk through the door, as I touch door, it's like my grounding mechanism. And I'm like, okay, I'm here, I'm present. And then what's really nice about jiu-jitsu as well is, usually as you go through the door, you go like when you go onto the mat, you go through a little bow. And that's another way to state your presence, and then, or to reassert your presence. And then what I'll do is, typically, like in jiu-jitsu, you line up before. You can do this in CrossFit as well, or wherever you're training. Go through a small phrase again. I use progress over perfection, just to kind of reassert why you're there, what you're trying to achieve. And that is an excellent way to move forwards. Now, that is the end of a fairly quick show. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the Jason Khalipa episode as well, because I certainly did. Now, seminars. I'm just going to mention mindsetrx.com/seminars again, or just head over to mindsetrx.com. If you're interested in hosting Tamara, so TAMARA at mindsetrx.com, you can send her a message, and she'll sort you out if that's appropriate for you. On top of that, if you enjoyed the show, please let me know on iTunes, leave a 5-star review, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff, and let a friend know. And then social medias, you can find me, Tom Foxley, all over social media just by searching for my name, Tom Foxley. And I shall speak to you guys very, very soon for another episode of the Mindset RX series of the Alpha Movement Podcast.